Hi guys, so after an overwhelming amount of comments, I decided to stick with what we're doing right now. What I'm going to do real quick is just go through a couple of the problems on this page that you guys had to do for your assignment on Tuesday, just to kind of get some misconceptions out of the way, and then you guys will do the even problems or the odd problems tomorrow. Well, I guess you're seeing this today. So you're going to do the odd problems today for your classwork. I will be going live at some point on Instagram just to kind of help you guys out with where you're going. But as far as it goes, I think you guys have done really well so far. I loved hearing your feedback. Thank you for your honest opinions. That was really helpful in how things are going and then what I can do better as well. So without further ado, let's get into this. So we've been working on completing the square. So that is making our problems look really pretty and nice and easy to work with. So the goal here is to be able to create something that I can easily factor. So let's start with number 2, and then I'm probably going to skip around a little bit just so that we can get a range of problems. So for number 2 here, we need this number to be over here. So to do that, we're going to add 63 to both sides. Okay. And once we've done that, we can create this sort of new problem, which is r squared minus 2r plus something, because we know we're going to add something, and that's going to equal 63 plus something. So then we think to ourselves, what's half of negative 2? So I can come up here and do that. So we're going to do negative 2 divided by 2 to get negative 1. And then I'm going to square that negative 1 to get positive 1. So positive 1 is what goes inside of this blank. So this helps me create those really nice and pretty factors, just like I did in my other video. So when I do this, I can create my variable and then whatever half of b was. So we said half of negative 2 was negative 1, so that's what goes here. And then we do 63 plus 1, which is 64. And then we just have to continue this problem. So we're going to square root both sides. And then we get this r minus 1 equals plus or minus 8. So I got the plus or minus 8 from the square root of 64. I know that a lot of you said that you struggled when you got to this part. All we're doing is physically taking the square root. So on the left side, the square root and the square cancel each other out. And that's why you're left with this r minus 1. And on the right, we simply just need to take the square root of 64, which is plus or minus 8. So the last step here is we're trying to figure out what r is. So I want to add 1 to both sides to get r all by itself. So then I just need to physically do that math. What is 1 plus 8? That's 9. What is 1 minus 8? That's negative 7. So my two answers there are negative 7 and 9, and that simply comes from 1 plus 8 and 1 minus 8. Right, let me skim through here real quick. I know that when I was helping some people on Instagram Live the other day, people were kind of struggling with number 6. So let's do number 6 here. Again, we need to move this 100 over because we need this space to be blank so that we can create a new space there. So we're going to have m squared minus 20m plus blank equals, we're going to do 8 minus 100 because I'm subtracting 100 from both sides to get rid of it. So when I do 8 minus 100, I get negative 92. And again, whatever I do on the right side, I have to do to the left, so that's why I left that blank there. And then once again, we're going to identify our b, and we're going to do b divided by 2, which is negative 10. And then we're going to square that number to get positive 100. So that's where this 100 comes from, half of b squared. All right, so now we need to make up our nice factor. So it's our variable, and then whatever half of b was. So half of negative 20 we said was negative 10. And then we're just going to add. So negative 92 plus 100 is positive 8. And then we continue solving. So we're going to square root both sides. On the left, we're left with m minus 10. And on the right, we need to simplify this square root of 8. So the square root of 8, I can break that down into a perfect square and another number. So my perfect square is 4 and 2. So 4 times 2 gives me 8. And we know that the square root of 4 is 2. We don't know what the square root of 2 is, so we just leave it. So this is what I'm going to use now instead of that square root of 8. So it'll be plus or minus 2, the square root of 2. And this orange part over here on the left, this is things that we've already practiced in class. So you should be pretty good with that by now, but if you're not, that's okay. Sometimes it takes a little bit more time. So then we're just going to add 10 to both sides. And then we'll end up with m equals 10 plus or minus 2 the square root of 2. And we're just going to leave it just like that because we can't combine anything else or you'd get a decimal. So we're just going to leave it just like this. So as I go through here, I'm thinking I'm going to do number 12 here real quick. So number 12 is a little bit different than the other ones that we've done so far. So we still have to move this 3 over. So we're going to add 3 to both sides. And then we have 7n squared plus 14 plus something equals 3 plus something. But then we have to do something else. So you see how this is 7? In our above examples, my a value has been 1. So there was a 1 here, and this was also 1. My a value has been 1 so far. So this one's different because now my a value is 7. So I need to make it 1. And in order to do that, I need to divide everything by 7. And I forgot my little n here. And yes, I am going to end up with a fraction on this right side. So I do get n squared plus 2n plus something equals 3/7 plus something. So now we just need to figure out what goes in that blank. So we do half of 2, which is 1, and then 1 squared, which is also 1. So we did 2 divided by 2, which is 1, and then 1 squared, which is 1. And then we make up our factors. So it's our variable, and then half of b, which is this 1 here. So plus 1 squared equals 3/7 plus 1 is 10/7. Finish off this problem by square rooting both sides. So n plus 1 equals, there are no perfect squares that go into 10 or 7. So I'm just going to leave it just like that, square root of 10 over 7. My last step here, subtract 1 from both sides. And we're going to end up with our final answer of n equals -1 plus or minus the square root of 10 over 7. All right, let's see. Let's do number 18 together as well. So this will be the last one that I do with you guys, and then you're going to do the odd problems on your own today. And I will be going live at some point today on Instagram just so that you guys can come and let me know where you're struggling a little bit. So fun stuff. We got to move this guy. So we're going to add 14 to both sides. So now we get 9k squared plus 18k plus something. And then we're going to do 14 plus 7, which is where we get 21. And then plus something. So if you notice again, my a is 9, so I need to divide by 9 everywhere. And I'm going to get a fraction again. So we get k squared plus 2k plus something equals, and I'm just going to simplify this a little bit. So 3 goes into both of them. So 27 divided by 3 gives me 7, and 9 divided by 3 gives me 3. So I'm left with 7/3 here. And then we're going to figure out what goes in our blank by taking our b value, dividing it by 2, and then squaring that answer. So 1 is what I'm going to put in these blanks here. And then we continue solving. So variable, whatever half of b was, and that's going to equal 10/3. Square root both sides. So k plus 1 equals plus or minus the square root of 10/3. Subtract 1 from both sides, and my final answer is going to be k equals -1 plus or minus the square root of 10/3. So that's where I'm going to leave it today. So we did 4 problems, and I will post these along with this video just so that you guys can look back on what I did in these problems. And then again, your problems will be 1 through 19 odds only. So that will be 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, and 19.